domain and range, consider the function y equals psi x. We can picture the psi function as a machine that assigns a single output value to every input value. The input x is a real number, formally referred to as the argument of the function. As we consider the unit circle, or the circle with the radius 1, so the domain of the x or x would be anywhere from -1 to +1, where y is similar way from -1 to +1. Also, the order pair x comma y is telling us about the cosine of an angle t and the sine of an angle t. That tells us the cosine of t will be between the value -1 and +1, which is the same as the value of the sine of t between -1 and +1, where t can be any number from positive to negative, which means you can go as many revolutions as you can, but the value of the y or the value of the x and y will be bounded by -1 and +1. From this table, we can say the sine of the t and the cosine of the t has a domain as a set of all real numbers, but the range or the value of the sine and the cosine of the t will be anywhere between -1 and +1 as the bound of the unit circle. The tangent t and the cotangent t, which is from the reciprocal of the y and x, or the quotient of y and x, I'm sorry. The tangent t is y over x, the cotangent t is x over y. If you divide by x as a function of the tangent t, x cannot be 0. For x cannot be 0, that means the cosine of the t cannot be 0. Where x is going to be 0? Where x is pi over 2 or 3 pi over 2. Therefore, the domain of the tangent x has to be any real numbers except the point pi over 2 plus another pi to get 3 pi over 2 and so forth. And we use the general notation as pi over 2 plus k pi. Starting from pi over 2, add another pi to be 3 pi over 2, and then keep going. The range would be the set of all real numbers. The cotangent is similar way. Since the cotangent t is from x over y, y cannot be 0. The y is the sine of the t. The sine of t is 0, where t is 0 or pi. So therefore, the domain of the cotangent is the set of all real numbers except the point 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so forth, or we call the multiple of the pi. But the range is the set of all real numbers similar to the tangent of the t. For the secant of the t, secant is 1 over cosine of the t. So the restriction is from the cosine of the t equals 0, which is the same restriction as the tangent of the t. But the range gonna be from -infinity to -1, including the value -1, during the value 1 to +infinity, because the secant is the reciprocal of the cosine of the t. Since the cosine is between -1 and +1, the reciprocal gonna be outside of that bound. That means you skip -1 and 1 interval. You take anything from the left, anything from the right. That means the lower part of -1, including -1, and from +1 all the way to +infinity. Similar to the cosecant of the t, which is 1 over sine of t. The restriction is from sine of t equals 0, or where the angle t is 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so forth, which is the same restriction as the cotangent of the t. The range is the same as the range of the secant the t because it's going to be the reciprocal of the interval from -1 to +1. Anything within -1 and +1, you omit it. You're going to take anything less than -1 and also greater than +1, including the -1 and +1. For example, psi of z equals 3 is not possible because 3 is not within the range of the psi function, which is from -1 to +1. You can check by using the calculator. Let's type it. Since the psi of z equals 3, let's see if we can find the z as an angle. How to find the angle z is from using the inverse sine or the inverse function of the sine at the value 3. Let's see what calculator come out. It come out like arrow domain. It means that it it doesn't include in the domain. Therefore, the angle z doesn't exist because sine of z equals 3 is not possible, or the value of the sine value is beyond the value 1, or is outside of the unit circle. Example, is it possible to find the following? If not, explain why. The first one, or part A, the secant of pi over 2. Secant of pi over 2, which is the same as 1 over cosine of pi over 2. Based on the unit circle, the cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So this is 1 divided by 0. They said undefined. That means we cannot find the secant of pi over 2, or it's not possible to find. Part B, the cotangent of 200. Let's see if we can find it by checking with the calculator. So the cotangent is 1 over the tangent of 200. The tangent, let's clear this one, and then the 1 divided by tangent of 200 equals, we can find the value, -0 0.557871. So that means it is possible. And if you think about the restriction of the cotangent from the previous slide, the restriction of the cotangent is the multiple of the pi, which is 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and so forth. And 200, it doesn't look to be the multiple of the pi, but if you are not sure, you can always use a calculator to verify that.